What is going on, Bears fans? Today, the Bears will take on the Minnesota Vikings. And listen, we've lost 7 games in a row, from 4-2 to 4-9, just like that. Lost a head coach, lost an offensive coordinator along the way. It's been a very interesting season for the Chicago Bears. Something that started with such promise, ending with such poor, mojo, whatever you call it. It didn't happen the way that we thought it was going to. Now, that's led to a couple of different things, and we're going to talk about that. So number one, what is going on? Well, it looks like Ryan Poles might be getting replaced. Like maybe things are not as right in Hallis Hall as we've been led to believe between Kevin Warren and Ryan Poles. We're getting mixed signals coming out. And by the way, anytime you have leaks from inside that are unkind to somebody, that's usually because their boss is allowing those leaks to happen. And the fact that, look, let's face it, there are leaks coming out about things that Ryan Poles has done wrong, but we haven't seen Kevin Warren come out and say, we're going to find whoever's leaking this information and we're going to deal with them. So you know, as well as anybody else, that means that there is a problem right now in the Chicago Bears with Ryan Poles. We don't have the endorsement right now of the team president. And that's not a great sign. So we're going to do that. We're going to go through that real quick. And then we're going to do a quick mock draft. And we're going to see what can we do to build this line and what it looks like if the season ended today and the Bears stayed right where they are. So make sure you hit the like button on the way in. Let's talk about it. Let's break down what's going on. First up, something suspicious is stirring within the front office. Ryan Poles' mistakes have further detailed and scrutinized in a damning recent report. Could it signal change coming to the Chicago Bears front office? And listen, when you get news like this and when you get situations like this, then it is imperative upon you to recognize when these leaks are coming out, they are coming out because somebody inside does not like somebody else inside. It all started with a tense press conference during which Kevin Warren's command of the room hovered over questions asked of Ryan Poles. Poles' body language and responses did little to inspire confidence, but Warren was steadfast in saying that his current general manager was the man for the job moving forward. Is that the case? Well, could be, but what could be happening more likely is they're making it very difficult for him to live in this environment. And by that, I mean Ryan Poles. And the end result of that is that Ryan Poles quits so that Kevin Warren gets to look like a good guy who I don't know what happened. And that seems to be the way that it's playing out right now. It's playing out in the advantage of Kevin Warren that Ryan Poles is just going to walk away because he doesn't like the current structure. Now, fast forward a week and a half, and it's become apparent that someone inside Hallis Hall has it out for Poles. Dan Wiederer detailed in a Friday column multiple significant missteps by Poles in his tenure as Bears general manager. Wiederer's piece is full of damning tidbits from league sources, which implies someone inside Hallis Hall has been sharing where the skeletons are buried. The most likely source would seem to be Kevin Warren, given the details about Eberflus, about jettisoned offensive lineman Nate Davis, about ex-offensive coordinator Shane Waldron, and the dynamic of the Bears' upper brass. And to clarify here, originally we were told that Matt Eberflus was forced upon Ryan Poles and that this was the McCaskies who had a short list. And the statement that came out about Ryan Poles, I want to be very specific. The statement about Ryan Poles was that no, Ryan Poles made the choice of Matt Eberflus. But what they didn't say is whether or not there was a short list from the McCaskies on who he could select from. So remember, nothing changed about the original reporting that Matt Eberflus was not Ryan Poles' guy, that Ryan Poles' guy had to be on a McCaskey list. So Ryan Poles chose the McCaskey guy. You see what I'm saying? Jettisoned offensive lineman Nate Davis, clear misstep, by the way. You definitely thought that Nate Davis was going to be something a little bit better than he was, and that a change of pace would be in the cards for him, and that he would get better. But then you quickly started to find out from the Tennessee Titans that they were more than happy to let him walk, and in fact, were excited that somebody as lazy as Nate Davis was finally clearing up some space for somebody who wanted to play hard. Crazy, right? Then ex-offensive coordinator Shane Waldron. And look, you went into a room with grown men. You looked at Cliff Kingsbury. You looked at plenty of different options, and you came away with Shane Waldron as your best option. Clearly another misstep. By the way, don't forget that it's not included in this article, but Velus Jones Jr. was also part of this. And I mean, don't forget Dominic Robinson and some of these guys out here who are just not working out, who are not performing at a high level. And the dynamic of the Bears' upper brass, and that was that Ryan Poles had an inside line to the McCaskies and ownership, and then Kevin Warren was brought in after Ryan Poles, and then Kevin Warren became the point man, so everything went through Kevin Warren to upstairs, and Ryan Poles lost his direct communication with ownership. So this is a problem, but the fact that it's being brought out in public right now means that somebody in Hallis Hall does not like what's going on with Ryan Poles. Now, Warren received credit for striving to create healthy pressure within the organization to stimulate a more energized and successful driven environment at Hallis Hall. The piece also touches on the adverse effects of said pressure, where Ryan Poles might feel he's constantly looking over his shoulder. Now, is that the case? I would think so. You should be looking over your shoulder. Your job is to build a winner, and you haven't done that. So you should be looking over your shoulder. Now, whether it be because of coaching or, look, we know there's enough talent that you shouldn't be looking over your shoulder right now. You should be crushing it, and you're not, as a team, I say. So Wieder's column is full of juicy details and new information regarding Ryan Poles' tenure, starting with Matt Eberflus' hire. It's noted that the Indianapolis Colts were planning to fire Eberflus before he became the Bears head coach. He may have had to restart somewhere else at a position coach until the Bears showed interest. Wieder then detailed Eberflus' reputation within Hallis Hall. Throughout his coaching tenure, Eberflus was described as awkward, corny, and inexplicably isolated at times, even when it came to interacting with assistant coaches. So this was a very damning sort of report on Ryan Poles. And what is the takeaway here? Until the above details came to light, I was an advocate for keeping Ryan Poles. He has skin in the game with the roster and the quarterback. However, Wieder's column changes things because it's a call out from inside Hallis Hall to highlight Poles' mistakes. It's worth noting that Wiederer covered the Minnesota Vikings beat when Kevin Warren worked there. So Dan Wiederer probably is getting his information, or likely getting his information, from either Kevin Warren or somebody in Kevin Warren's orbit, and that is not a great sign for Ryan Poles. So that could be that he's on his way out. Also, another leaked report came out that the Chicago Bears are quietly researching new GM candidates. So there is something very, very deep going on here, and they are preparing for a mutual parting of ways is what we're looking at right now, where things are going to change. Kevin Warren's going to tell Ryan Poles, this is what we're going to do. This is the way things are going to be. We want to know if you're going to be on board with that. And they're going to make it impossible for him to be on board with it unless he's just there for the paycheck. And there's no dignity in that. So Ryan Poles, I would think, is probably going to be hard pressed to stick around. But this is not, again, this is the thing here where, some of these other places have done the same thing. And in order to land Ben Johnson or Mike Vrabel, those guys are going to want something more than a GM who they feel might be compromised with upper brass. Everybody sees the same thing coming out. So Ryan Poles at this point might just be cooked, and there's nothing that we can do for Ryan Poles. Let me know if you think that Ryan Poles, in the comment section down below, should still be here when it goes into next year. And look, don't forget, before we go into, well, he fleeced the Carolina Panthers. Look, Carolina Panthers would have given up anything at that point for what they gave up to begin with. So the fact that it became a number one overall selection and we picked up DJ Moore, there were a lot of, and that turned into, I think, Tyreek Stevenson, that pick. So there's a lot of good things that happened over there, but that doesn't take away from the bad. Look, we thought Austin Booker was going to have potentially a breakout season. Nope. We thought that Karan Emagaji was going to be a guy for the future. Not yet. And by the way, later in the year, we thought both of those guys would start to really come along because they would have had some NFL experience at that point, but we have not seen it. We see people talking about Austin Booker's motor and stuff like that, but is he getting to the quarterback? Karan been injured the entire time. Ryan Bates, has he played a game yet? I mean, I think he played the first game, but Ryan Bates still on the injured list. And by the way, we went cheap on the offensive line. What is the problem with the Bears? The offensive line. What continues to be the problem with the Bears? The offensive line. What did we do? We went cheap on that. So there are some missteps, some radical missteps. So now let's take all of that information and let's turn this mock draft and see what happens right here. So we're going to enter a solo draft right now. The Bears will have the number 9 selection, and I'm going to reject. We're going to reject all trade offers, and at the number 9, what is it that we're looking for? What is going to make us a better team? Now, I want to say this, okay? The number one thing for me would have been at the end of last year, edge rusher, because I thought that we would need an edge rusher. Once it was clear that DeMarcus Walker was going to be that guy, okay, that, we'll just work with it and we'll be a good run-stopping team. But we're not a good run-stopping team. Andrew Billings goes down, and now we're exposed, and we're giving up huge amounts of yardage and stuff like that. So my first move here should be to take Mason Graham at defensive tackle right there, because we have to do something to help out. By the way, a resurging Gervon Dexter. So we have to do something right there. And now this is where it's going to get interesting. Now we're going to reject that, and we're going to reach into West Virginia, and we're going to pick up Wyatt Millam, guard out of West Virginia. Now we've got another pick coming in, and what are we going to do right there? Ariante Ursi. We are taking the best offensive linemen that are available in this draft for the positions that we currently have. We're not trading anyway. We're just kind of moving through this. We're going to reject this offer as well. Josh Connerly, we're going to bring him in as well. Why are we doing this? Well, we've got Tevin Jenkins, who's probably going to be out pretty soon. We got Braxton Jones, which we're going to have to make a decision on pretty soon. Braxton Jones' final year being next year for his 4-year contract. So we need to start restocking. Kiran and Magaji is clearly not enough. So let's move on and let's continue. We're just going to restock the line, and we're looking at Charles Grant from William and Mary. Now, I'm going to move over here to offense, and I'm going to look down the list and I'm not disrespecting William and Mary. Plenty of great players are going to come from smaller colleges, but I'm going to look down here and I'm going to see if there's anybody out here who's ringing the bell, if you will. Austin Barber from Florida. That's who we're going to take. SEC competitor, used to playing in bigger games, so we're going to take him instead. Again, I'm not saying that he's better. I'm just saying that I would be more comfortable with somebody from a major conference. Now, the other thing is we've gotten rid of Khalil Herbert. Roshan Johnson in his second year. We got a couple years with him. Travis Homer, I think it's going to be time to move on. We're going to take Trevor Etienne, Travis's younger brother, out of Georgia. We're going to put him in there, see if he's got a little juice to see what happens right there. Gus Hartwig, we're going to take at center, because we're still going to need somebody to replace maybe Coleman Shelton. Ryan Bates is here for 2 years, but Coleman Shelton's only here for 1 year. All right, now we're going to reach down here a little bit more. Jacob Gideon, Western Michigan, and we've got J.C. Davis from Illinois. What do we need the most? Well, clearly what we need the most are tackles, and maybe people who can move into guard position. But there you go. You can see it right now. Mason Graham, Wyatt Millam, Ariante Ursi, Josh Connerly, Austin Barber, Trevor Etienne, Gus Hartwig, and J.C. Davis. Now, I do want to say this. I think that we put a lot of capital into the line. Now, we only have one defensive player. Am I going to get... is this the greatest of drafts? This is my first draft of the year, and I wanted to make sure that we took a tackle early, and I want that tackle early because, again, I think that, if Austin Booker becomes better than what we've seen so far, and I don't know that he will or won't, but I think that he will, and I see tremendous upside. So I'm going to take a defensive tackle because Andrew Billings injured, Gervon Dexter, we're running out of defensive tackles. We clearly don't have enough depth at the line. Now, where do we get the most depth? I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got 1 guard, 4 tackles, and a center. We are going to shore up this offensive line come hell or high water, no matter what. And then we're going to reach down here for a guy, Trevor Etienne, running back out of Georgia, to see if we can make something happen there on that line, in that backfield, because again, Roshan Johnson, they clearly don't like Roshan Johnson the way that I like Roshan Johnson. And the way most people like Roschon Johnson. So if that's going to be the case, and Travis Homer is your other option, then we've got a depth problem at running back. So that's it. That's the draft. That's the first one of the season. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you think Ryan Poles is gone? If so, who do you think a likely candidate is? And what do you think of the draft so far? We want to load those. So let me know what you think. And bear down. And tonight, Minnesota. Look, I think we're going to take an L. I don't think that Thomas Brown has shown any reason for us to have confidence at this point in his ability to get the team ready for game time. So if he has not done that, then I think that we're probably going to end up not playing as well. We're not going to be ready. And, he's going to be short-lived, and this is going to be a short tenure as a head coach in the NFL because no team has looked prepared yet. So let me know what you think in the comments down below, and we'll talk to you again very, very soon.